was watching the latest Alex Karp interview on CNBC. He's great.
Yeah.
Dude. I love that guy.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
I love it. He says what he thinks. He's really out. And it works. Founder's doing great. They're killing it. I'm sitting down today with someone I know very well, Jeff, CEO and founder of Kixie, and a personal mentor of mine. I get to talk to you today, not about anything prescriptive, not about anything that's like either of us are prepared for in advance, but I just have the normal conversations that we typically have when we're here late at night in the office.
No problem.
I just wanted to put a camera in front of us and capture
All
it for a little
right.
bit.
I mean, yeah, let's capture some of this stuff we normally talk about anyways.
Fantastic. Let's do it, buddy.
Stoked. I would say that for a true AI native business, there's one must. There are agents reporting to people, to leadership, to the CEO, to the CRO, to the CFO. While AI assisted, a business is still, querying on demand using Claude chat and not having agents do things asynchronously.
So paint the picture of that first one for me. So AI agents reporting to managers. What does that look like?
What that looks like is that when I'm sleeping, when I'm in meetings, I have agents running asynchronously, which means in the background on my machine. So, for example, they could be pulling up various articles and blogs that are interest for my topic that I want to learn about. They could be looking up all the calendar events that I have today and Gmail and email response I have to get to. And I'm not at my desk. I am and doing no, guidance of AI, but instead it is working towards a goal, towards a task. And I come back and can review material. That is an AI native, AI first company. I think a lot of businesses nowadays think that, the leveraging AI, whether, I'm using Claude, I'm using, ChatGPT, I'm constantly using chat all the time, but they are pinned down. Secondly, also kind of what I touched upon, a lot of times when you're chatting something like write up an email or write up a quote that I can send to this customer ABC. Okay, so that chat lives one time, it accomplished one task. There's no learning from it. It's not deciding on anything. And at that point, it is like, just a blip on the radar. Versus an agent is going to be accomplishing that and then getting better potentially every single time. So I think that's the biggest thing. Do you have agents actually reporting to you, as in you're actually like having agents constantly and you're improving them? You're saying, no, this output was not correct or not. And you're iterating and making those agents better. And that is crucial to be an AI native, AI first company.
I mean, I'll put myself in this category. You helped transform this for me because I used to have what I consider to be human in the loop, but not in the great good sense, in the sense that the human in the loop was me. And what that human did was, take a screenshot of this email, put it into Claude in a project I have, say, analyze this additional input, and then give me a new output. And that was my in the loop. But what you've helped me do is, I use Claude Cowork now, and I create projects that have agents running. And now when I say human in the loop, the human me is basically saying, this output that you've hit me with completely asynchronously. I didn't give you any input. You hit me with this output. We could tweak this by this. We could do this by that. So I'm just giving it, you're right, it's almost like a manager. It's almost like I'm having a one-on-one with that agent.
Exactly.
And I'm telling that agent,
you got it.
Hey, buddy, I want to see this from you, not this. That's very different than essentially the micromanagement that was would be the equivalent of me standing over the shoulder of the agent being like, okay, now paste that here. Okay, now analyze that. Now give it back to me. Now, you're right. It's a big difference.
That's actually a phenomenal analogy. Micromanagers standing over, tapping on the shoulder of a report versus, hey, I trust you. Do work, come back to me, I'll review it or not.
Totally.
Exactly. That is a great analogy.
And I think that transition is just as difficult. I think people micromanage because they want to lose control and they feel comfortable with it. It's how they've always operated. And to move on to what you're actually stating is really AI native is the same as moving on from micromanaging to macromanaging, which is I have to step back and I have to create or train an agent that is responsible enough to handle this task asynchronously and have me only check in with it every so often and I can improve on it. But I'm not going to be there telling it exactly what to do, correcting it, saying, okay, no, you missed something, redo that. I'm just going to look at the output asynchronously after a while and then make changes at a macro scale.
And what's great is that you can start with simple ones like read only, right?
Yeah.
Tell me my tasks today, tell me my to-dos. use, and
Oh,
then
smart.
eventually, right, then you get to write tasks, draft up the email responses that I have in
Yep.
my, my email client, and so I can review them and send them out.
Yeah.
But you can start with read only. Obviously you could get your feet wet on that front,
Yeah.
and or you can have like give me my daily readout about all my competitive landscape and everything like that,
Yeah.
and then you can move on to once you're comfortable with that agent, develop another agent that's writing up email responses and everything
Yep.
like that. But I mean, I think that is crucial. I think most business nowadays, I mean, if they're not like launched, if it's not a tech company launched in the last 3 years,
Hmm.
probably think they're like leveraging AI, but really it's like, okay, I'm using, a Claude chat, I'm using ChatGPT.
Right.
And yes, I mean, that is obviously probably a 10x on what
Totally.
they used to
Huge
do.
step up.
Like, you can create a quote without typing
Yep.
everything out. You can have it compress and summarize a document. And there's magical things you could do.
Totally.
But I would argue it's almost a bigger step function when you go into an agentic framework.
Yeah, well, one's, I guess, enhancing headcount, and there's actually adding headcount effectively,
That's
right?
right.
You're adding
That's
new
right.
agents
That's right.
for no variable. Well, the only variable cost, I guess,
Yep.
is the token usage,
That's right.
but no base cost.
You're adding agents and enhancing both.
Yeah,
So
and
you
enhancing.
have two vectors of enhancement.
Yeah.
What's interesting is like engineering had this for I don't know, let's say a year or two, right?
Yeah.
Claude Code was an agentic framework, but only recently has with Cowork. I feel like it's been a game changer.
Yeah.
It's really been able to 10x any non-engineer.
Yep.
Because now you have access to your file system. You can draft the emails. Like you said in the past, a revenue, a team member would have to copy and
Yes.
paste an output of Claude into Gmail,
Yep.
copy and paste an output of Claude
Back and
into
forth.
Notion,
Yep.
back and forth. And then and if there's revisions, then it's not learning. But
No.
now it can draft that email up. And if you modify that email, it will right away, and you can say sync back into my
Yeah.
operating system, and it's going to remember all the changes.
Yeah. It also let me merge projects. Like it let me have projects that used to be very siloed and it was only
That's
about
right.
one thing. And I could put them all together. That way they could kind of cross-reference in
Yep.
a way they couldn't
Yep.
before. Because the memory was just so much larger.
Yes,
You know what I
yes.
mean?
I think
Like,
that's one of the biggest limitations. I think every non-engineer experience is that project custom instructions are limited.
yeah.
You may have a project custom instruction for, okay, this is my sales project, this is my
Right.
marketing project, this is my finance project. Each one is siloed from each another one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I'll use the example of topics we're discussing today, right? So
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
my Claude, I have projects for my personal life, professional life,
Hmm.
startup life, AI life, everything
Right.
like that. And I can synthesize and say, look across everything and give me great topics to talk about. Never
Ooh.
in the past you could do that through projects, right? So this has been, we're able to do this now with Cowork, access to markdown files and everything like that.
You're right, because most people would have to go to their chat thread that's about optimizing
That's
testosterone or
right.
hormones and have to ask
That's right.
about a topic, a health related topic, have to go to their thread about work and have to ask a question
That's
about
right.
work that we could talk about. And like, you could just ask, give me 10 topics to talk
Yeah.
about from all the areas of my life because it's got all of them.
And
retained
rank
memory.
them as well.
And rank, oh, that's cool.
Exactly,
And
right?
importance.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it actually has context to be like, okay, this is more important than the other one. While
Yeah.
if you go the old way, siloed, you can't rank. It has no context between A, B, and
Totally.
C.
The other really cool thing is once you told me about the Cowork Unlock, AI is one of the only tools I can think of. I mean, there's a couple other exceptions where the tool itself can tell you how to use it.
Yep,
So
that's right.
when you told me about the Cowork Unlock, I could go back to the tool and say, Jeff told me about the Cowork Unlock. How do I use it?
That's
How do
right.
I set one up just for
Yeah.
myself to be the same way he did?
Yeah.
And it will tell you how to use
Yeah.
it to do that.
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
That's right. I mean, the newest models are just so good nowadays. Like in the past, I think, like rewind a year or two ago, you'd have
Yeah.
to say, act like you're the best attorney in the world,
Right.
or act like you are the best marketing person in the world.
Yes.
Now, like you just have to give it a goal and
Yeah.
context, and it will figure it out.
Yeah.
And like now with the fact that you have access to markdown files and basically theoretically unlimited memory and
Yeah.
sync back into that, I mean, that is the next level. for
Tell me
sure.
about the goal part of that, because I think that was a big unlock for me too. Why is it so important to tell it a goal as opposed to just to ask it a question?
That's a great question. I think, well, nowadays, right, there is, I'll use Claude as the example.
Yeah.
You have the chat interface, and then you have Cowork, and Cowork is executing off of tasks.
Mhm.
Well, a task inherently is a goal,
Right.
right? So if you think of chat, it could be a live question and
Yeah.
answer, workshop, things like that, which is good for, again, on demand. I have a
Yeah.
question about this. But if you have a task, what is a task? It's really a goal.
Yep.
For example, goal, give me my best meal plan for my workout plan today, right?
Yeah.
So that is why. Think of it again as if you have an agent reporting to you, just
Yep.
like you have a team member employee reporting to you,
Yeah.
you're going to give that team member a goal. What is your
Yes.
goal? Hey, I want you to go through all the lost deals
Yep.
and then figure out which ones are good and then qualify them and put them into the new pipeline, right?
Yep.
There's going to be some goal that everyone has, just like an agent. That agent needs a goal or task because that's the North Star.
Yeah. No, and actually, it's funny you bring that up because that's the importance when I train managers of giving them a goal versus telling them to do a task. Is if I give them a goal, they might think of novel ways to approach
That's
it.
right.
But if I give them a task, there's no room for
That's right.
novelty or creativity or learning.
That's
Right?
right.
It's just
Task is
execute the
part of the
task.
goal, essentially.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, the other cool thing, I think we were just talking about this before. You're working with the engineering team, and a lot of times, if you're just dealing with questions and tasks, you might be circling too narrow.
Hmm.
There might be
That's
other,
right.
like, for instance, if I'm worried about optimizing, we talked about hormones and health. If I'm saying, okay, I want to optimize my hormones, but I ask the question, what meals should I eat in order to optimize my
That's right.
hormones? I mean, it'll give me a good
Yes.
suggestions, but
Yes.
maybe sleep's way more important than the meals I'm
Exactly. Or
eating,
maybe working out.
or maybe working out
Exactly. Or maybe
is.
something like
And because I
exactly.
haven't given it a
Yep.
broad enough scope of a
Yes.
goal, it has no idea to even bring that stuff up to
Yep.
me.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, AI is so good now. That's why, like, it's important to zoom out, right? So
Yeah.
the goal should be zoomed out, right? The goal should be, close more deals,
Yeah.
and then the context is where you lay down the details.
Yeah.
Or goal, increase testosterone. Okay, this is the context.
Yeah.
Give it the zoomed out goal, and AI is so good that it can figure out. And again, it's like they're saying you don't know what you don't know, right? So a
Totally.
lot of times, I think as people, we are zoomed in a lot and
Yeah.
we know the areas that we know, the lenses that we know. We don't know the other
Yeah.
parts, right, of the world. So I think it's important just to state the goal as zoomed out as possible and then
Yeah.
give context that is narrow and detailed.
And is that going to, you think, is that going to be the next big unlock for go to market using automation? Because I think for a long time, go to market using automation was about, I'm going to give it a task to send this text message on day 2 every day
Mhm.
after a new deal comes into my pipeline.
100%.
But you're saying something different. You're saying, what do you say?
Well,
How would it
what
look?
I'm saying, okay, what's the end goal, right? Is it
Right.
to get a new SQL? Is the goal to close deals, right?
Yeah.
If for an SDR, the goal is to get a demo.
Yep.
For an AE, the goal is to close a deal. Okay, so that is the goal. I mean, let AI figure out. Maybe it's every 2 days, every 3 days. Maybe it's an email. Maybe it's a
Right.
LinkedIn message. Unknown, right? And AI is so good at pattern matching, and will learn from that. I think that is an unlock, major unlock.
You're right, because I mean, before it was so hard to find signal within data that most of us just go and listen to the same gurus telling us
That's
the
right.
same steps,
That's right.
and all of our sequence emails are
Yep.
the same cadence and
Yes.
all that kind of stuff. So, do you think that if people use a more goal-oriented approach with AI, it's going to create a convergence like it did with sequences, where every team sequence is going to look the same, or do you think it's going to be more divergence than it did in the past, where they all kind of come to the same conclusion of how to approach sales or accomplish a goal?
It's actually a question. I mean, I think I would say divergence because, again, I think in the past, like what you said, hit the nail on the head. The gurus would give a playbook.
Yep.
What was the playbook?
Totally.
Okay, email day one,
Yep.
LinkedIn day two, and then a call day three. If no response, and a path. Right? It was
100%.
a deterministic flow.
Yep.
Right? I mean, that's what we talk about. What's deterministic mean? Means that it goes, same input equals same output.
You're right.
Right? Every team, every human, every person's different. Every
Yep.
company's different. Every company has its own DNA.
Yep.
So what does that mean? But every company wants to close more sales,
Right.
but we all have different ways about going through that, right?
Yeah.
Even companies in our space, whether it's Kixie or another revenue communication platform, we'll have different ways that we're going to close deals. So
Yeah.
our North Star, yes, we want to close deals.
Right.
How do we do that? Everyone has their own ways.
Isn't that so interesting? So it's a technology that instead of making us more convergent and all doing the same sort of things like a lot of technologies of the past did, it's actually might make us more divergent again because we have some originality or the
Yeah.
inputs are very more varied. It
That's
takes
right.
into account a more varied set
That's
of
right.
inputs is
That's
probably the
right.
right way to put it.
That's
Right.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. You
Exactly.
got it.
So combining those two things, so now we've got, what an AI first company looks like in terms of it being, you know, uh, agents actually reporting to you and a kind of an agentic flow. And you've got what a go-to-market motion should look like nowadays, or at least what it can look like with AI. So I guess combining those two, what is like an in your mind, what does an AI optimized go-to-market motion look like for like a SaaS company or something, someone like us?
Oh man, that's a great question. Let's rewind what it looked like. SaaS company looked like 5, 6 years ago,
Yep.
right? So they're using a sales productivity tool,
Yep.
a sales engagement software. Well, let's call it Sales Law of
Yep.
Outreach, and
Oh,
the SDR BDR is loading up lists.
yep.
They are determining like what email messaging to send out and the cadence. So day one, send out, "Hey David, are you interested in purchasing our widget?"
Totally.
Day two, "Oh, I saw you didn't open my email." Day three,
Yep.
etc., so on and
Yep.
so
All
forth. Right?
templates.
Was deterministic, and replies back
Yep.
would be fielded by the SDR BDR,
Right.
and then they would engage.
That's my human in the loop again, my original human in the loop,
Mhm.
where I'm having to watch each thing and kind of copy paste back to oh, they didn't reply at all. It'll try and follow up. Once they reply, it's on me, the human, to be in the loop to even respond. Right? Yeah.
So if you think about that, like that SDR BDR is completely arbitrarily determining what content, when, to send to, who
You're
to
right. Yeah,
send to,
you're right.
what
Because
list to send to,
you're
and
right.
just basically
You're,
picking
you're
out thin
right.
air.
Day 10 at 2 p.m. in the afternoon on a
Why?
Wednesday. There's no reason you're emailing them except it's
Why?
day 10, right?
Yes,
It's all. It's
correct,
the only reason. Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
And why, right?
Yeah. Right.
If you actually and why that message?
Right. I don't know. It's stage 5 in my sequence. Yeah.
I mean, the better teams are running A/B tests, things
Yeah.
like that. But again, like, okay, so you're A/B testing and why? You could be so zoomed in at A/B testing. Hey, David, or how are you, David? Right in the
Exactly.
subject,
Totally. Yeah.
but there could be something else completely different.
Yep.
I mean, I think that is where like an agentic framework completely changes things, right?
Yeah.
I would say the future of any go-to-market team is any of those flows and anything where it requires some sort of where A/B testing, AI can crush. AI can
Right.
send out all those emails, time better,
Yep.
figure out what time zone you're in. I mean, you could even say at the point where figure out, hey, you're on the West Coast and daylight savings time. Also, I see you're in this industry, so you're probably off at 6 p.m. I'm going to email you at this time, right? That's
You're
the
right.
easy thing for AI to do.
Totally.
So what does it look like then? I mean, I think what it looks like is that humans are not doing all of the rote kind of, like all that mechanical work.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to be again a lot more nuance. That BDR is going to be not having to load up lists and just figure out, like, just take random stabs at
Yeah.
cadences, things like that. But now the BDR is really fielding and making determinations on potentially different segments.
Mhm.
Overall, maybe making directional decisions, right?
Right.
So I bring up the analogy of AI right now. If you think about like the future of AGI,
Hmm.
you could drop it off in the middle of the ocean, it can figure out where to go.
Right.
Right now, AI needs to be sent in a direction.
Yeah.
The more narrow direction you send that AI in, the
Yeah.
better it's going to be.
Yeah.
So if you say, "Hey, like, go off into this direction. I want you to attack this vertical, and with this kind of content and
Hmm.
messaging, the AI is going to crush
Great.
that." And I think that the humans still we have to direct stuff,
Yeah.
right? So that is kind of what is going to go move to is that all of that mechanical part of what data send,
Yeah.
what are the right word structures, things like that. But the human's going to make the judgment call on what is the overall tone, the vibe of the
Yeah.
message, everything like that, and just let AI do its
You
thing.
know, it's so funny. Everyone's so concerned about AI job loss, right? Like, it's like the number one narrative, I think, right now in the U.S. But what you just painted a picture of to me, and tell me if I'm wrong. It sounds like we're turning an SDR into a manager. It's a
Correct.
manager of agents
Exactly. 100%.
instead of
That's
a,
right.
right, instead of a manager of themselves. Like,
Exactly.
that's pretty cool. I mean, if I think of myself early on in my career, I would have much rather have had the creative input into the directional and strategic thought, and not the
That's
mediocrity
right.
of like just all the minute little steps I have to click and the replies and remembering when to email people. Actually sounds like an improvement, not a degradation.
100%. I
Yeah.
mean, if you think about the course of human history, right? Through the Industrial Revolution, people were worried to be out of jobs, but
Yep.
then you have people fixing machines.
Yep.
Like during when farming
Yep.
came about. Okay, there's a bunch, like the majority of humans were farming.
Yes.
Machines came about. Okay, now there's unlocked so many more different
Yep.
domains, right? So I think it's the same exact concept. And if I actually put my engineering hat on, I think of back in the day, um, 50 years ago,
Yep.
we were writing assembly code. So what that
Mhm.
means is it is a very, very rudimentary
Like
statements,
zeros and ones, right? I mean,
almost
like,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, way,
Correct.
way down,
And
like
then
baseline, yeah.
something called the compiler was invented.
Yeah.
What a compiler did was translate more English
Mhm.
words into that ones and zeros.
Yep.
Were there more jobs or less?
Way more.
Way more,
Way
right?
more.
A lot of people will be like, okay, whoa, now that it's simpler to write
Yeah.
code, it was an unlock.
But I'm sure at the time, everyone who was fluent in assembly was like, "That's going to destroy our
Of
jobs,
course,
right?" You
of
can't
course,
once you unlock it to
of
everyone who can just
course.
speak English. That's all our assembly
That's
translator
right.
jobs are out of
That's
work,
right.
right? Yeah.
So I think the nature of work is going to change. But again, throughout the course of human history, any major technology unlock has only increased productivity, not decreased.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of history. And one of the things I've found is that if I ever get panicked about the state of the world or what's going on, if I zoom out and look at a historical lens, it calms me down a lot
Mhm.
because it's much more like, oh, you know what? We've actually been through stuff like this before, like
Yep.
and
Yeah. one Hundred
survived. And
percent.
and you can kind of see the flow of human time and
Yeah.
not being so myopic on like
That's
what's
right.
going to happen this year in AI. Obviously, any big period of transition, whether it's the agricultural revolution or the industrial revolution, like there were jobs that were eliminated. Those assembly code translators, right? That job became out. It was no longer as necessary. But all these new jobs are created. Everyone always wants to hear, I don't know, doomer stuff always polls better and people watch it more. So I guess what jobs do you think will be probably the assembly translators of the past, like will be eliminated? Or what do you think they'll be transformed into? I guess like you just mentioned, the BDR is now a manager of agents instead of just a IC. What else do you see? What other changes
I
do you see
mean,
in the most?
I'll use something in the industry right now, right? So you have a couple. I mean, I think customer service has been one of like
Hmm.
the biggest impacted fields,
Yep.
just because like you typically have a script you have to stick
Right.
to. It's less nuance and like based with sales.
Yep.
Sales you have more nuance and there's like some human emotion
Yeah.
and high and a white glove factor
Yep.
to it. While customer service is really like okay. And I mean, that's proven by the point that a lot of customer service orgs are outsourced, right?
Totally. Yep.
So you look at recently Salesforce acquired Intercom, which was renamed Fin.
Yes.
You look at a company like Sierra tackling that field. And I mean, I think jobs where our humans almost act like machines and robots,
Yep.
I think that is going to get replaced where
Yep.
there's no real human thinking to it
Yeah.
instead of just executing across a pattern, executing across a script,
Yep.
executing on something where it doesn't take like the human judgment. I think the magical thing about humans is that we're able to synthesize across so many domains, right?
Right.
It's so quickly.
Yep.
I mean, uh, if I think about the example of full self drive and how
Yeah.
complicated that really is, and what we can
Isn't it
do as
crazy?
human, that is really the proof. So
Yeah.
I have a Tesla,
Yep.
and I think of things like humans can instantaneously think of, okay, this dog's on a leash, and it looks like it's going
You're
onto the
right.
street,
Yes.
but it's on a leash, so I'm not going to slow down.
Right.
But think about how complex that is
Oh
for
my
AI
God.
to determine, and think about a traditional deterministic workflow.
Yeah.
So engineering terms, deterministic is like if dog on leash, then do
Then
that.
this.
But okay, if the leash is here and this, but
Right.
it's like that is such a complicated thing. But humans can do that like that.
Right.
We instantaneously can do that. And that's the magic. We can synthesize through so many domains so rapidly. So I
Yep.
think it's going to be to a point. I mean, if you think about the course of human history, there has never been a time when there was large corporations.
Yeah.
Throughout the course of human history, there were wood shops or we're great farmers or great cooks. I think it's going to go back to that, which is like
Yeah.
what I think we're meant to do. I don't think humans were built to completely just put a widget into another
Yeah.
square hole and that's all we do for the rest of our life because we're not learning, we're not problem solving,
Right.
and inherently I think the brain is meant to constantly grow and learn, and we're not doing that if we're doing the same repetitive thing like a robot every day.
Yeah, it's interesting because it felt like for the 20th century, it was a real shift of making humans be more like machines. And now we're seeing maybe a return to making humans be more like humans and the machines be even more like
Agreed.
machines, right? Like
Agreed.
the
Yes.
automation is going to become even more profound and take that whole element of the 20th century where we had to become robots out of our lives. You
Yep.
know what I mean?
And I mean, I think of the doomsday sayers are going to be like, oh, it's going to be a job loss. But if they really think deep, they're not getting real joy and pride and purpose
Are they
out of
fulfilling jobs? Yeah.
exactly. Well, also, I think in humans, we want to be fulfilled, right? We have
Yes.
to have purpose. Our North Star has a purpose, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's to your family, whether it's to your career,
Yeah.
whether it's to if you're in sports, like to your
Yep.
passion, whatever it is, that's what drives us, right?
Yep.
That's what like pushes us to be better people,
Yep.
better team members, better workers.
Yep.
And if you're putting a widget into a hole every single day, I mean, that's really, really hard to do. It's like you really
Totally.
don't have a North Star. That's my purpose in life, put a widget into a hole.
Yeah, you're right. And for most people listening, like if you're listening to a podcast on the web from a SaaS founder, you're probably well off enough that your early levels of Maslow's hierarchy of needs have been met. You've got food, you've
Mhm.
got shelter. So it really is about kind of the actualization portion of your
Yep,
life. Like, how do I feel like I'm really contributing? How am
that's
I
right.
a person in society? How do I feel good about what my day-to-day mission is in life and what
Mhm.
I'm doing, for work?
Yep,
Like, and I would love a return to that. I mean, I think
yep,
most people would,
yep.
like I said, as long as we can reassure people about the bottom levels that they'll have a house and they'll be fed and stuff, I think they would much rather
Mm.
have the jobs that you described than the jobs they've been doing for a
Yep.
couple decades now.
I mean, just to kind of tie things back, I think I'm like you. I'm a person that history. I look back on history,
Yep.
and history is a predictor of the present and the future.
Hmm.
And throughout the course of history, advancement in technology and industry has only grown the population
Yep.
and done better things for humanity throughout the
100%.
course of history.
Life for everyone has improved as technology has improved.
That's right.
I'm an optimist too for those very reasons. I love it.
What jobs are going to be replaced? I think
Yeah.
it's any job where it doesn't take like the true the magic of the human intellect to connect
Yeah.
dots across multiple domains rapidly. I think any rote mechanical where you're doing the same thing over and over trying to optimize
Yeah.
rather go 0 to 1, there's a saying in
Yeah.
that you're trying to go from 1.1 to 1.11
Yes.
1.2. I think those jobs are going to be taken over by AI.
Yeah.
But again, I think the point of that is that I don't think humans are built for that.
Yeah, it's so fun because you're describing the death of that kind of mechanistic rote style of work for humans, and also with the go-to-market when we were talking about the death of that rote prescriptive
That's
sequencing
right.
and go-to-market strategy
Exactly.
is also going to die. It's going
Exactly.
to become more dynamic and
100%.
more like humans
I
think.
mean, I think there's nothing there's not a better testament to that than that SDR BDR job. No one stays in it for more than 1 or
No,
2 years.
it's a stepping stone
No,
job.
it's a exactly.
Yes.
It's almost like it's a hazing
It's
job to get.
hazing, baby.
Yes,
We
yes,
in
yes.
sales, we all know it. It's
That's
like
right.
we've all been through
That's
it.
right.
It's like you know what I mean.
Yep.
It's how you get
I mean, in the finance world, it was the spreadsheet
Yep, in
monkey, right?
legal, it's the
Yes,
junior
exactly.
associate. It's like you
Yeah,
getting jumped into a law firm
exactly.
basically
So
for the first
there's
couple
not
years.
a better proof than that. Than like nobody wants to stay in that rote
No.
medical job for a long time. And
Yes.
it's just a springboard to do the things that I'm actually be able to be creative
Yep.
about. A SDR mechanical 5 years ago
Yep.
going to an AE, which is not mechanical. It's
Right.
nuance. Everyone wants to be that. No one
Yep.
says I want to be an SDR for the rest of my life.
Exactly. And what's interesting is like I feel like sometimes those processes, like at least in law and probably in sales too, they weed out some of the people who would be great if they got to get
That's
at the
right.
strategic level,
That's
but they
right.
just can't stomach the
I know.
rote,
Yeah.
non-strategic stuff they have
Yeah,
to do for
yeah,
years
yeah,
before that.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So that'd be a great unlock to
yeah.
get those people in.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Mhm.
So entry level in general. So what do we think that's going to look like now? So now we're talking about removing some of the kind of rote mechanistic stuff that most people had to do almost as a hazing ritual in order to get into a field.
I mean, that's a great question. So I think there's a couple things to unpack. Number one, in the past, I mean, I think the traditional path, I mean, yours,
Yep.
intern,
Yep.
right? Learned from a big firm,
Yep.
and then you go on to work. I mean,
Yep.
I remember in college I was an software engineer intern,
Yep.
and then I went on to work. Now you have the best tutor person there is, right?
Yep.
You have AI to help you learn and grow as an engineer, as an attorney, as a salesperson,
Yep.
whatever, right? So I think that's one big thing we all have to remember. You've got the best like teacher you can possibly get working 24/7 that you can ask any questions you can learn. Right now, like when I was in college, I mean, college taught theoretical classes,
Yes.
and I had to go to a job to learn practical. What does
Yep.
code look like? Any engineer is studying now doesn't. They can go and they can code right away.
You're right.
So that's a huge unlock, right?
Huge unlock.
They can learn themselves.
Yep.
That's a big one. Second, I think whenever somebody starts a job, I think all of what, let's call it 21 years of our life
Hmm.
is something that can't be taught to AI, at least right now,
Yeah.
right? It's that human judgment. I'll use this as an analogy. It's kind of like, as humans, if we have to think about things like, okay, if someone has no home, they're homeless,
Right.
right? How would you actually write down what that means and what that is? Oh, this
Ooh,
person has
like the qualities,
the
the attributes.
qualities. That's
If you
right.
train that same Tesla car
That's
to
right.
recognize homeless, not
That's
homeless,
right.
how would you train that
That's
Tesla
right.
car? Yeah, if it were like binary,
That's
right?
right.
Right.
I mean, it's really
It's
complicated,
actually really hard.
right? Do they is their hair clean? Okay, but no, but
They could be a surfer, or they could be,
that's right. That's
yeah, or
right.
they could be a homeless
Do they have
person.
ripped jeans? Do they have ripped clothes? Things
Yeah,
like that.
but they
So
could have designer jeans that are all ripped,
right.
or they could have jeans that are actually torn from wear and tear.
So
Yeah,
it's that human element that right now AI just cannot match.
right.
It's the nuance. It's all of the small little details. It's
Yeah,
the way the person's eyes are, the wrinkles, this is this and
yeah.
this that we cannot even put our finger on.
Yes.
So even if you are new to the workforce, you have that.
Yeah, you're right. You come in with a set of skills that is uniquely so far above what AI
That's
has
right.
when it first comes into being as an agent that you actually have something of value to add to it. Whereas before, you were almost just a sponge. You're just
That's right.
receiving information from the organization in order to
That's right.
contribute.
That's
And
right.
now you can start contributing right away,
That's
right?
right.
And that's a pretty cool
Yeah.
advancement.
So those are my two parts to that part.
Yeah. So the entry level, it seems harder to achieve because it's you're coming in at almost a higher level of the org, like you're observing or managing AI bots, or but yeah, guess what? That's great because you happen to actually have a resource that's now valuable that
Yep.
AI doesn't have that you
Yep.
get to bring to the table.
I think traditionally, like, as a software engineer, when you're junior level, like sometimes you actually we push stuff to production,
Yeah.
but a lot of times you're getting mentored. What does that mean? You've got a senior level engineer taking their time out of the day to train you, but
Ooh.
now that person doesn't really need to, and you can be
Yeah.
productive from day one, right? I mean, even if you're still new to code, I mean, again, AI is elite at writing code.
Yeah.
It's that human element where where it's the vibe or the feel
Yeah.
of the design that only humans have right now,
Yeah.
right?
Well, that's a spicy take. So instead of most people are thinking there's going to be way fewer entry level jobs. But actually, if we think about the fact that the entry level jobs of the past were a net drain on the
That's right.
company, and now they might be actually net
100%.
positive. If you told me I got to hire 10 more employees, but they'll be net revenue positive on day one, I'd say, why not 20?
Exactly. I
Right?
mean,
Yeah.
you think about companies like, right? Like Google's had an internship program not to add productivity value to
Right.
Google. It was the recruitment pipeline, right?
Yes.
So it was actually a net negative if you think about productivity because
Yep.
like senior engineers are training them, but they're like banking on them for future growth.
Yes.
But now it's like if that engineer day one can be off and running and crush it, I mean, game changer. So I think it's just a mindset shift, right?
Yeah.
I think as humans, we don't like change.
Yes,
And
we are.
this is a massive
It's a
change.
big
And
change.
I think there's one thing I would say that's different about this, AI, technology revolution versus the other one is a compressed timeline.
You're right. The speed of it.
The speed of it is ridiculous,
It's
right? So we're
ridiculous.
talking about ChatGPT, 3.5, which I mean they had other versions, but that really took the world by
Yeah.
storm late 2022. So we're talking what 4 years
Yeah.
like 3 days. So it's like, I mean,
That's
I mean,
crazy.
now compared to what was then is just unbelievable. So you talk about, the industrial revolution
Yeah.
or anything,
Even newer technology, cell phones. I mean, you're still
exactly
talking decades
decades,
between that
exactly.
Nokia block
Yes, that's
phone
right.
and a
Yep,
smartphone like
yep,
the iPhone.
yep.
That's still and that was supposed to be incredibly fast,
That's right.
right?
That's
And
right.
that was still decades.
And you talk about iteration. So you talk about like an iPhone launches every year,
Yep.
every big upgrade every 2 years,
Yep.
and we get a new model nowadays, what every month or two.
Yeah.
So I think
It's
that's the part
crazy.
that's unprecedented.
Yeah.
That I think we'll see what happens on that. But I think in general, I would say you brought up a very astute point about if you could have 10 people be productive right away. Well, of course you're going to hire them
Right.
right
The
away.
class itself would be bigger. I
100%.
wouldn't limit it to 10. I'd
Yep.
say why not 20 or 30,
Yep.
right? So there could be a lot more jobs so long as they're revenue producing
Yep.
all day,
So
Yeah.
when I have anybody, younger family members or relatives who are like want to get to the engineering world, I said
Yeah.
you should be just developing your own stuff
You're
now.
right.
I mean, that is really what it is. I think it does take motivation.
Yeah.
It does take a north star of okay, I'm going to be a self starter,
Yeah.
but you've got the world's your oyster. You
Right.
can do whatever you want. I mean, we have nowadays. There's 23-year-olds building billion-dollar companies. I mean,
Yeah,
so
you're
it's like,
right.
I mean, the potential is uncapped.
You
So I think it does take that, that motivation.
yeah.
But I mean, there should be no limiting factor.
So you're right. Actually, so if I were a job applicant, I probably wouldn't be scared. If I were faculty in a legacy education institution, I might be a little more scared.
More
Like
potential.
might be
Yes.
more
Yes.
reason for legacy institutions and like accreditation systems
Yes.
to be more fearful. And maybe why there's funding some pushback,
Yep.
and why if you're an individual looking for jobs, you should not be as scared.
That's correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I
I
like
think
that.
Yep.
I
Correct.
can get behind that future.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. With the amount of law school debt most of us have, or sorry, school debt.
Debt in
I
general.
said law school debt
That's
for
right.
myself, but school debt in general. I think most of us can get behind a system where I can immediately be productive, add value to a company, and get
right.
paid rather than get into debt.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
You got You got
That's
it. I
awesome.
mean, I can say firsthand, right? The stuff I learned in school as a software engineer. I mean, when I took my first job, I really didn't apply any of that.
100%. Same with, I
Maybe
mean,
1%, maybe 2%.
most of the law I learned in law school, and that's a specific graduate level or doctorate level degree in a field, still not
Yep.
useful for most of what I did
No.
in the practice of law.
No.
Yeah.
Yep. You
Yeah,
got
isn't
it.
that crazy? Yeah, 100%. Love it. Awesome. Dude, Jeff, CEO, founder of Kixie, personal mentor to me and a great
Thank you.
friend. Thank you so much for
Of
coming
course.
on. It was
Oh,
wonderful, dude.
Thanks for having
Love
me.
it.
It was a pleasure chatting with you. This is like our normal chats, it's just
Yeah,
talking about the
exactly.
world.
I just wanted to put a camera in front of us. This is what we talk about all the time anyway.
Yeah.
I want to start doing it more regularly. I think it'd be great.
Sounds good.
Fantastic.
Thank
Love
you.
it, buddy.